So I'd like to call up Mr. Denis Descheemaeker, who's the VP of Research and Innovation at Airbus Helicopters, to join the stage. We're going to go in alphabetical order. So Denis, you're going to sit in the second seat. I might try to sit in the seat if I have a mic. All right, Mr. Jason Hurst, Executive VP, thank you, of Engineering at Bell Textron, could join us up on stage. Mr. Chris Speights, the VP and Chief Engineer at Boeing Vertical Lift, and the incoming chair of the board of the Vertical Flight Society starting in July. Mr. Roberto Garavaglia, who's the Senior VP of Strategy and Innovation at Leonardo Helicopters. Thanks for coming. And then, of course, Mr. Steve Schmidt, the newest member of the Executive Committee, who's somewhere, he's on the other side, who is the VP and Chief Engineer at Sikorsky, a Lockheed Martin company, a long-term employee of Sikorsky.
So my name is Denis, as I say, so I'm in charge of research and innovation for Airbus Helicopter. And I'm very happy, delighted to give you some highlights about what we are doing and what we are focusing. It's my second year in the Vertical Flight Society Annual Forum, so I'm super happy to be with you. So as we wanted to keep you awake, we'll start by a small video. So you see that in Airbus we are as good as selling helicopters and doing movie. And you see at the end we've seen the racer. We spoke about it last year on the 140, which is the last born of Airbus. And last year, and you see that on the video, it was an amazing year, an outstanding year for Airbus. You've got the result there. I will not go deep dive in the financial topic because it's not a topic there. But it is as well ending the mandate of our previous CEO, so Bruno Even, that left 1st of April and is replaced by Mathieu Louveau. And Mathieu Louveau is not a newborn in the helicopter world because he was in Airbus Helicopters some years ago in charge of programs, in charge of strategy. Then he moved to the group, to Airbus Group, in charge of strategy. Now he's coming back and he's ready in the continuity of the action of Bruno, focusing on deliveries, and this is the result. These are the results, but as well preparing the future, and this is great. So let's see how it's move on. I was with him this morning talking about NGRC strategy, and of course it will be one of the matter of the coming months and years. I can present that chart in a different way, which is a market share. But one point that you can see maybe is with my dear friend of Leonardo, that you see on the chart. And if I stack Airbus and Leonardo in Europe, we are quite a land where doing helicopter, producing helicopter is something. So if you authorize me to give you, to the audience a confidential information, that next year the Vertical Flight Society annual event will be in Europe. No, it's a joke.
We're talking about it at one point.
Why not? So joke aside, I'm quite happy to highlight that topic as an illustration about what we are doing in terms of manufacturing. Was selected for the award Robert Pinkley, and we did quite a great job there because you know the blades is by definition something that is specific to an helicopter. It's the identity of an helicopter. All the performance goes through that. The number, the length, the size, the type of material, the attachment system, even the sense of rotation sometimes can vary. So there's only two solutions at least. But we did that, and I'll just pick one example, which is the flex beam. It's done manually. You can imagine that pre-brake done manually, helicopter per helicopter, blades per blades, manually. And it's something that we really want to disrupt in terms of industry, in terms of manufacturing, in order to get robots being able to do sort of like prototyping exercise into an industrial world. So we have to think about what kind of standardization and flexibility we can bring to the robots in order to be able to do that. And I will end my words about a new type of challenge that is coming next, which is a couple, and if we can launch as well the video, which is the teaming between the helicopter and the drones. And I believe that this will change really our life. It will change the way that the drone by itself will be used as a tool to enhance, to give more capacity to the helicopter. And it's true for all of us. Here in that video, you see how we use somewhere a flex rotor, which is Airbus drones, in order to provide eyes in front of an helicopter, in order to, because that flex rotor is only 25 kilogram max takeoff weight, 9 kilogram of payload, 10 to 12 hours of autonomy, being able here to see and to witness where the pilot needs to be rescued, or it can be a sailor on sea, the same approach, and only send the helicopter where it makes sense. And if I'm a bit futuristic, our helicopter could become more and more standard, more and more dedicated to their core missions, and will get specific drones that will provide the add-on that is required for specific missions. Video, laser pointing, special weapon carrying, etc. And I think this is really something that we have to investigate in the future. And it gives us a lot of room in order to work on the NGRC, so the next generation rotorcraft for the NATO. And I think that NATO is a great field where we can express a common interest between us, between countries, and to exert collaboration. And it's something which we'll focus on this year and next year. And I just would like to end by special thanks to the technical guys still there on the side, because I did not make their life happy easy, because I just ended my presentations a couple of minutes ago while I was driving to come here. So thank you to you.
Thank you, Denis.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to VFS. Jason Hurst. I have the privilege to lead the engineering team at Bell. Angelo mentioned some of the membership numbers. This is a fairly small community in the grand scheme of things, so it's good to see a lot of the familiar faces. And if you aren't familiar and don't know us, like you said, come see us at the coffee bar. We'll be happy to tell you more about what Bell's doing. I really wanted to talk more about VFS today. I think we've taken up some of the time with the other projects we're working on. But my first trip to VFS was actually 3 years ago when we were here. So since then, I really appreciate the focus the team's had on fostering the technical community. There was some efforts we were doing that were getting more in the marketing realm, so I really appreciate getting into more of the core of what the society's for, but also giving us the opportunity for people that dedicate their lives and their professions to technical excellence to give us the opportunity to recognize those folks. So for those of you that have taken that path in life, I really appreciate what you do and the impact that it has on people's lives. If you look, no matter how you slice it, we have a lot of analysts here. You can slice and dice it however you want to. Whether you look at installed fleet, if you look at flight hours, you look at economic impact, or probably more relevant to this audience, if you look at number of career opportunities, this is a small slice of the overall aviation world. And so that being said, the number of flights we have may be lower, but the impact each one has is much greater. Or as I try to tell my team back home when I'm going through budget challenges, things like that, we have a lot less people to do a lot harder job than what you have in the fixed wing world. Although I will say, some of us are blending in more with the fixed wing world as we go on day by day. So with that, thank y'all for what you do. Thank y'all for those of you that have chosen a harder path in life. And as you'll see, what you do really matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
We fulfill a promise, forged in grit and steel. Our rotors turn against gravity's pull, carving paths others dare not go. Through wars and wilderness, we lift the fallen. We carry hope. We fight for freedom. Innovation is not an option. It is our oxygen. From the thunder of the Huey to the speed of the Valor, we prove that limits are simply invitations. And our legacy is inked on history's sky. We will never stop. We are the Vertical Flight Society.
All right.
I told Jason that's going to be tough to follow, and I'm doing it the old-fashioned way without videos, so see how it goes. Good afternoon. Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Chris Speights. I'd like to first thank all of the organizers for setting this up, giving us an opportunity to speak. Dr. Reitmeyer, that was a phenomenal discussion earlier, so I echo Mr. Hirschberg's comments, so thank you very much for that insight. And as Jason said, we really appreciate everybody here at the Vertical Flight Society and how we come together to find the solutions that are solving some of the toughest problems that we really have, not just in the US, but in the world. So thanks for that. I'd like to just spend a few minutes, and I'm going to do a little runaround of our portfolio within Boeing, give you a little insight about what's going on with our platforms, and then just end briefly with a little discussion on some of the inflection points that we're seeing, at least from the Boeing perspective. So we'll actually just start off with the Apache. If you've been reading the news lately, you see that this aircraft is performing significant missions in the Middle East today, doing missions really that were never envisioned when the original requirements were written in the 70s. And it's really a way to recognize the evolution of the aircraft and its capabilities all the way from the Alpha model to the Echo model that's out there today. Some of the biggest sort of updates for the aircraft right now is that our V65, which is our open systems interface, our MOSA compliant approach, to implementing that open systems to be able to add capabilities, third parties, whomever, can be able to really interface in under the glass of the aircraft. So we've completed the development and the testing and are finishing up certification. We're very excited about that capability being added, and we truly believe the Apache is at the forefront of actual application of MOSA. We're not just talking about it, we're flying it and able to show the capabilities that can be added in a week's time or less. We've also seen not just the missions that we're seeing in the Middle East and in the Strait of Hormuz today, but we're also seeing counter-UAS capabilities. There's Operation Fly Swatter, where we demonstrated a number of effects that the sensing and the effects that the Apache carries really offers a unique capability in the emerging and ever-evolving UAS, counter-UAS ecosystem. And then if you think about the Apache overall, with the sensing, the communications, the defensive capabilities, the protection, the agility, all of these things coming together, it really does make it the ideal quarterback for the sky. And when we talk about the crewed-uncrewed teaming, the manned-unmanned teaming sort of effects, having a manager at the front line being able to make those decisions in those high threat, high risk environments is very critical. So we see the Apache as a central to the family of systems at the edge today. Now, kind of talking through on the Chinook side, we've got our Block 2 upgrades. Last year, I talked about some of the capability enhancements. Really, what we're doing is working with the Army. They've accelerated the Lot 6 contract for the aircraft, and we're currently under contract for 24 of the Block 2 aircraft. All the feedback we've gotten so far is well received. The enhanced capabilities, the lift, the payload, the range, are all very well received, obviously, and it's just another example of the continued evolution of the aircraft. Recently, we were able to share some advanced capabilities. We talk about autonomy or autonomy skills or automation. We've actually taken the existing hardware, our DAFIX, our advanced flight controls, and have implemented some, let's call it supervised autonomy capabilities with approach to X. It can be hands-off capability to be able to land even in austere or degraded visual environments. So we're really excited about the mission capability and the safety that brings. And then I'll say we're also really expanding the capabilities of the Chinook through autonomy and MOSA applications so that it too can be part of the family of systems, whether it's launched effects, collaborating with other Rotorcraft or other platforms that the Army would be fielding. Then we really see the Chinook continuing to stay relevant and leveraging the MOSA capabilities to be able to add those family of systems interfaces in the future. All right, V-22, sort of a little bit of a simple story, with our partners, Jason. We've collaborated for a number of years, decades even on this. We're completing production and deliveries of our CC RAM, that's like a certified pre-owned V-22 program, and also of our new production. So we're very focused on that, but really looking at the sustainment and improvements over the next 20 plus years. Just recently, our partners at Bell have begun a nacelle improvement program. We're looking at digital backbone and MOSA enhancement capabilities, also updated modern flight control algorithms, some of the things that we've learned on Chinook that we want to be able to apply in the future on V-22. So overall, by leveraging digital backbone and MOSA, we'll really be looking to extend the use and the utility of the V-22 over the next decades. Finally, just talking about the MH-139, so we've completed IOT. I think the last time we spoke, we were just on the cusp of that. We're fielding our LRIP units, and really the story on the Grey Wolf is that it's executing missions. It's out there. It's replacing an aircraft that had been in use for many decades, and very positive feedback from the Air Force customer. And we're just continuing to focus on entry into service, get through IOC, and deliver the aircraft that are on contract. And then finally, from a platform walk around, I just want to briefly talk about WISC. So I think everybody saw in December, we did our first flight for our Gen 6 aircraft. Just last week, we did our first flight for the second aircraft, our test aircraft. So we have 2 aircraft in flight test, autonomous, of course. And overall, the WISC platform is just providing us with the foundation around both autonomy stack technologies and fleet integration. And even though that's in a commercial space, there's a lot of lessons learned and technologies that can port over on the defense side, because when you think about all of the small, medium, and large UAS platforms that are going to be flying around all of our operating regimes, deconflicting that, coordinating that it truly is going to be its own unique family of systems in every instance. So I'm going to just wrap up with my last slide and just kind of talk about some inflection points that we see from the Boeing perspective. I see a lot of propulsion advancements, even classic gas turbine, whether it's ITEP or other. We're seeing SFC, range payload improvements that come from that. It's just the constant evolution that we have in the vertical lift space. Electric drive, so many different platforms are currently undergoing either proposed for or undergoing certification efforts. So it's great to see across the industry so many applications of really, these advanced propulsion systems. And whether it's with WISC, Joby, Archer, and others, I've seen, everybody has some form of hybrid propulsion that's coming in. So there's been a lot of change over the last few years, and we'll see it over the next few years. The increasing adoption for autonomy, very clearly the capabilities, the safety, the mission effectiveness, so critical across so many platforms. They enable optimally crewing our platforms so that we can do those dangerous, those dull, those dirty missions, or we can put a human in there when that decision-making and situational awareness is needed. And then overall, right, I think we as an industry are really focused on trying to figure out what are the right paths to certification through the different bodies. And there's a lot of different concepts and approaches there, but this is something where I think we're clearly at the inflection point of kind of turning the corner on how we are going to have these certified. And then finally, this is maybe a little more on the defense side, but as I mentioned with WISC, it still can be on the commercial side. I see a lot of inflection points and changes around the family of systems, collaborations of how all the platforms work together to provide capabilities. And we saw earlier, it's not just about the platforms. It is about the capabilities and the missions that they perform and that they collaborate together to do. So the interconnectivity, the crewed-uncrewed teaming, and overall providing capability through interoperability of all those different platforms is going to be one of the key drivers as we go forward, both in the defense and even in the commercial space. So that's kind of the view from a Boeing perspective, a quick run around our charts, capabilities and the missions that they perform and that they collaborate together to do. So the interconnectivity, the crewed-uncrewed teaming, and overall providing capability through interoperability of all those different platforms is going to be one of the key drivers as we go forward, both in the defense and even in the commercial space. So that's kind of the view from a Boeing perspective, a quick run around our charts, and appreciate the time.
So Roberto Garavaglia from Leonardo Helicopters, adding to what my colleague from Airbus said, 2025 was a great year for us also. For the first time, we had more than $7 billion revenues. We delivered 182 helicopters, including notably 80 AW139, which is a very important product for us, plus another set of helicopters. We earn our business by doing civil and military. We do not a huge Department of War. We can assure business continuity for us. The civil business is actually very good. It's like a gym because it keeps us agile as we try to satisfy the requirements of our commercial customers and support them in their business. We are a main actor in Rotorcraft, of course, so traditional helicopters, both for in dual use or commercial derivative helicopters, and specialized helicopter. We are developing a new attack helicopter, the only other Western-made attack helicopter in production today or being developed today, the AW249, an 8-tonner for the Italian Army and hopefully for some expert in the future. We are a great believer in tilt rotors. So as we continue to develop the AW609, we put into the air the first NG CTR, next generation commercial tilt rotor. It's not a product, it's a flying lab, it's a technology demonstrator to make us advance in this technology, and we'll see later that we are participating in some European programs to understand the future, as we hope even the European military will eventually look for tilt rotors for their usage. And of course, last but not least, uncrewed systems, an integral part of our future together with autonomy. We have our own platforms, the Hero, the Proteus, so we'll see later, and we'll need to learn how to make helicopters work with a manned capability as we move on in the future, and we try to understand the ConOps. And especially from our MODs in Europe, it's a bit messy to have to deal with 20 odd MODs in Europe, but we'll get there eventually. There is a new single engine that we are developing, which is in its final stages of certification, the AW09, the only new generation single engine in many decades, built in Switzerland, but fully owned by Leonardo. So we have the first aircraft flying now, the prototypes, and serial number 6, so the first production is now flying. So it will be a multi-role helicopter, completely new generation, featuring new technology, new avionics, connectivity for MRO activities, compliant with the latest safety requirements, including bird impact capability, and the distinctive feature, a huge cabin with a clamshell door access, so a cabin that you typically find on a light twin engine. This will be on a single engine helicopter with all the reduction in cost that it allows. So we are very excited, and we also hope to see our number of helicopter deliveries increase as we start and ramp up the production of this new exciting model. We are participating on military products or let's say on our military activity on NGRC, the NATO program, Next Generation Rotorcraft. There is an RFP that we are expecting this summer about the concept design. We hope it will be a fair competition, and there will be probably different ideas to compete for a pretty diverse set of requirements of several European armies. Also, we are working with Airbus on an ENGRT, European Next Generation Rotorcraft Technologies, which is a technology program funded by the European Union and by the participating states in advancing rotorcraft technologies for the years to come in Europe. Also, with a contract with the Royal Navy, we have put into the air at the end of last year the first prototype of the Proteus, which is a single-engine unmanned system, 1,500 kilos capability. There is a video that should hopefully start showing it. That's the purpose of that. And just to conclude, my final slide, we are very proud also to serve the US DOW. And just to conclude, my final slide, we are very proud also to serve the US DOW. We have completed deliveries of the TH-119 as the basic Navy trainer, single engine Navy trainer, 130 of them. And we are the proud supplier to Boeing as prime of the AW139, which becomes the MH139 for the Air Force. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Steve Schmidt, Vice President and Chief Engineer for Sikorsky. It's a pleasure to be here today and give you some comments about what we're doing at Sikorsky Aircraft. First, just kind of run around our production aircraft and how we're satisfying missions for our customers. First, on the 53K, we just have a $10.9 billion contract for up to 99 53Ks that we need to deliver in the next 5 years. So we're challenged with a pretty significant production ramp. The Marine Corps has 25 Ks in their possession. They're rounding out and figuring out how to use that heavy lift capability, which is 36,000 pounds on the hook. And they have about 10,000 flight hours now, working towards the deployment in 2027. The S-92 fleet being fully utilized, so we're seeing demand for new aircraft, especially for head of state and offshore oil customers. So we're ramping up our production line and getting up to 12 aircraft per year. We're also increasing the capability of the aircraft, 1,200 additional useful load pounds through increased gross weight, more powerful engines, and the Phase 4 main gearbox. Of course, that gearbox allows the aircraft to continue the mission when it's lost primary lubrication. We're working to put rapid deployment kits into the Navy fleet. One example, if you saw the autonomous splashdown of the Orion capsule, which was made by Lockheed Martin Space, all that video was with a rapid deployment kit that we put on our Navy aircraft. It's tough when you see natural disasters around in our country, and we want to help, our customers fight those fires. And Firehawk's been doing a great job. Really good feedback from pilots who fly that. Of course, it's based on the S-70i platform that we build over in Poland. We also provide to foreign military governments. We continue to deliver our H-860W combat search and rescue helicopter. If you saw the news, it saw its first combat behind enemy lines, taking on fire, rescuing down airmen. Just fantastic to be able to do that, even though the aircraft took on fire, returned safely, right back in service. Black Hawk and Naval Hawk will be around for decades to come. We want to modernize and investing in those platforms, working with both the Army and the Navy to do that. Recently announced an armed helo kit, where it can launch all different types of weapons as well as launched effects. Of course, extremely passionate about saving lives with our helicopters. In 2025, saved over 5,926 lives. Lots of people working on autonomy and making good progress. Thought I'd spend a minute on where we are on Matrix and really appreciate the partnership we have DARPA on the Alias program. We've done a lot of demonstrations, primarily a situational awareness tool for pilots, but we have done fully autonomous missions, about a half an hour, one of them, and another one was over an hour. Demonstrated lifting on the cargo hook, landing in austere environments, even did a demo for Secretary Hegseth, taking our tablet down to the Pentagon, and he flew that aircraft in Stratford from the Pentagon. That pictures of our flight field didn't come through too well, but it's really the Black Hawk OPV flying next to the UH-60MX aircraft. We've now delivered that to the Army, so the Army can experiment on their own with a fly-by-wire, matrix-enabled aircraft. That tablet, by the way, we've trained over 100 soldiers. It takes about an hour, and then you can fly missions. Matrix is a stackable, autonomous, open system. That's open software. So you can put flight autonomy next to mission autonomy to demonstrate missions. DARPA Evade program, as an example, we give that software to the Evade competitors and have a firewall team that supports that integration. So now we've integrated it in over 20 different aircraft. Now we're focused on contested logistics. We demonstrated the U-Hawk at AUSA last year as far as the additional cargo capability when you remove the cockpit. Now the team is challenged to fly that by the end of this year. And we're also teaming with Robinson on the turbine truck for the Marvell program, and they'll be flying with Matrix. And for my last slide, I really appreciated Dr. Rettmeyer's comments. Our message is we've heard our customers. We take way too long developing aircraft capability. We need to go faster, provide min-viable capability to the fleet. We got to have open systems so it's easy to upgrade, and we got to be much more affordable. So what that looks like to us as we evolve our business through transformation is, one, we've increased our research and development dollars towards new technologies, new products, driving those into first flights, and then providing those for customers to try for their missions. So we're flying our Nomad hybrid electric rotor blown wing, 18-foot wingspan. That's imminent this year. We flew a version about half that size last year that was all electric. Next step this year is our hybrid electric powered system test bed, 1.2 megawatt system. Try out the full hybrid electric system as well as the dynamics, going towards a full prototype that we want to fly in 2028. The other part is disrupting with new technology. New technology is coming, and we're embracing it. We're figuring out how to use artificial intelligence across the entire design spectrum. How do you do design faster, catch mistakes, help in the shop? How do you sustain aircraft better, reduce test data? We're also vertically integrating and using additive manufacturing for supplier resiliency. Those aircraft I talked through, 2,800 printed parts on those aircraft. Much harder to put additive parts onto legacy aircraft. We want to partner with our customers to do that. That last picture is an H-60 radiator that's going to production readiness review. And then just on the last line there, getting to 100% model-based enterprise on every single one of our production products, which means we're remastering a lot of our legacy data, bringing it into 3D, connecting that digital thread, and we found already how digital twins really drives down the costs and the schedule throughout the life cycle. Thank you for your time. We found already how digital twins really drives down.
I don't know if we'll need it. So you guys did better than last year. I think we averaged 8 minutes instead of 5. Well, last year we averaged 16, I think. So I appreciate you guys cutting it back. Next year, maybe we follow the Oscar scenario for speeches. Every minute you're over, your corporate dues go up by like 10%. Nice. No, these 5 companies are the financial stewards of the Vertical Flight Society. They pick up more than half of the bill, and we really appreciate that. Vertical Flight Society is really just its industry partners and our stewards that pay dues. We don't get any money from the federal government. There's no contracts, there's no grants. So it's really these guys that ensure the students can come for free and that we're able to, ensure that registration is reasonable. Obviously, it's not the best it could be. So let's start. I'm going to start with a question in general about the state of the industry. And maybe I start with, what is the narrative about the industry that you just think right now is flat out wrong? Like, what are people talking about with respect to helicopters in particular that just isn't true? I don't know, Jason, you want to start maybe?
So as far as the state of the industry goes, I think we've just gone through, and I showed it last time I was up here, an incredible amount of design cycles. The amount of clean sheet aircraft, it's almost been a renaissance period for industry that's been, an incredible thing to experience. Where we go right now, if we look at it, is into more of an industrial age, industrialization period where we are ramping up production on multiple things at the same time. So we're really getting past those major design cycles. So there's going to be a big shift into factory type activities, into bringing technology into the fleet. And ultimately, from when I talk to the students here and look at what's next for the workforce, it's really opportunity to get out there and roll up your sleeves, get some dirt under your fingernails, and build some parts. And the other part that we've got to look at is what are those next opportunities? A lot of them are in the technology area, and so we're seeing a shift in the workforce more from some of the traditional aerospace sciences into more of the software and systems environment.
Yeah. So Denis, I think numbers look good. Like you guys are doing. Are you going to run out of people to sell helicopters to? Especially civil. Like, where's your state of the industry for Airbus? How do you feel?
Yeah, so ramp up of resources is quite a challenge, right?
Ramp up.
For several reasons, let's say. So manufacturing, I mean, it's really something that we have to shift from a sort of prototyping, exaggerate a bit, but prototyping way of delivering to something much more automatized, so I totally share that. And so this is true for that, but it's true as well for the type of competencies. So artificial intelligence is something that we have to address. How to address it? In which way? What kind of competence? Is it a core activity or not? Situation awareness, same topics. Drones. So we are really shifting from one classical industry, mechanical industry, to a very high-tech industry. And I think that's quite attractive, quite interesting as well for the new guys joining us.
Copy. Now, Chris, do you feel like Boeing Vertical Lift is getting the attention they deserve within Boeing? I mean, you guys are doing pretty good, I think, but you got some distractions on the fixed wing side. What's the state of the industry look like for you guys in Vertical Lift?
Yeah, so from the Boeing side, I mean, let's be clear. Boeing is an aircraft company, and the behemoth in the room is commercial airlines, no doubt. But the really nice thing is the technology and the experience and the talent that allows us to tap into. whether it's directly pulling that talent in, bringing them in on a non-recurring, on an independent basis. So I would say the state of it within Boeing is that we have products that are able to perform the mission better than any other platform. When we look at, especially heavy lift and attack, those are the platforms of choice. And to kind of talk about your earlier question about, what's the maybe people are thinking wrong about it. It's that, whether it's a Black Hawk, a Chinook, an Apache, even though they may have been created and started in the 60s, 70s, the aircraft we have today are not the same as what you had before. No more than if you buy a 1970 Corvette and compare it to a brand new C8. It is a totally different beast with a lot of different capabilities. So I think the evolution of these platforms has kept them very relevant. And then within the corporate portfolio, that differentiation is apparent. And so we do get the right support. We're getting significant IRAD investment in both of those platforms so that we can support the government's future needs. So.
Yeah. And so maybe Roberto or Steve, any other industry insights? What are you thinking? Maybe especially.
From my perspective, we sometimes look back over our 100-year history of Sikorsky to look to the future, and you realize the industry is cyclical in that military can go up, commercial can go up. There's technology that comes in, you have to be ready for that. So I see us in a period of really healthy disruption in the sense that we've got very strong backlog, strong orders for our current products. We're healthy because we have major military development programs, some internationally coming up, big international military demand. We're investing in new products and getting that investment. Plus there's a lot of new missions that are coming into our industry. I think it's keeping us all on our toes, and I think in the long run, that's good for all of us.
Yeah.
Well, I think the industry, when we are the last one to speak, you tend to repeat what the others say because there is consensus. I mean, but the industry is at an important phase of its life because it's evolving and it's in a very dramatic way. I mean, the fact that this new platform, I mean, for the first time looking at we always watch it as the US DoD budget, at the one which has just been published, that tells a very interesting story about the future of rotary wing. So moving towards tilt rotor, and I think this is very interesting. It's something that we are watching very clearly across the Atlantic. This is on the military side. I think also the helicopter is no longer, and it has not been for some time, a system per se, but it is integrated in a network when it becomes a node of a battlefield network, especially for the military, and the autonomy and the integration with other unmanned system, or even with aircraft or satellites flying above, is going to be a mandate for the future. And actually going to the platforms, I mean, the platforms that you guys are very well aware of, I mean, have not changed, they have changed inside. So probably in the future, OEM will need to be more systemic rather than platform focused on what we do, and this is going to also to change the kind of capability that we'll have to do. And then on our side, and for us, I was saying before, for Leonardo, it's been important to keep a strong foothold on civil, because civil gives you the agility to react rapidly to an evolving market, but also gives you the platforms which can become very credible and affordable and quickly developed solutions for the military. And not all the military have the budget of DOW around the world. The world is big. Of course, DOW buys 50% typically of the helicopters, but there is the other 50%, accessible 50% that you want to, in a way or the other, to fight your way in.
Yeah. So we'll jump to autonomy and AI. So a little while ago, I was getting contacted by a gentleman named Igor Cherepinski and Barbara Lindauer, and they were telling me about all the exceptional things that Sikorsky was doing with autonomy. Now, this was back when I was single and I didn't have any children. Now I've been married 13 years and I have 3 beautiful kids. And it is an accomplishment that the Alias program has gotten to the point where we've seen a transition. Steve, it took a little while. I will say that. Have we figured out the secret sauce? We're learning, I'm sure from doing. What is holding us back maybe with autonomy, but what have you guys, what's the secret sauce? Like, what, you guys have a path for the future?
You may need to do 3 more children, isn't it?
Well, first of all, I mean, you're right. It has been a little while. We started investing way back. It was probably 2012, 2014. So,
Yeah.
but it's interesting. I was having a conversation yesterday with somebody from the Army about how technology, how long it takes, and just kind of the whole go fast mentality, which has been kind of fascinating. So we had the benefit of developing it on the Sikorsky autonomous research aircraft and then partnering with DARPA on the Alias program for OPV. But as I was trying to explain in the opening comments, I mean, it is ready today. I mean, primarily situational awareness tool designed to be able to address controlled flight into terrain, loss of control, and you just look recently at some of the unfortunate incidents we've had in the fleet, and Matrix can help with that. So primarily helping out 2 pilots in the cockpit, being a good co-pilot for 1, or we can fly on uninhabited missions. Now that's been demonstrated, multiple aircraft, including large fixed-wing aircraft, go over 1,000 hours. I think we're TRL-7 and ready to transition. So where we're at is looking for those partners, looking for those opportunities to go through qualification, certification, and deliver that capability to the fleet.
Yeah, and we can open it up. As far as autonomy, do you guys see any barriers? Are you trying to work hard and heads down on autonomy? Do you see any struggles or roadblocks in the way right now? Certification? I don't know. Denis, you guys are incorporating some autonomy?
Yes, it is. So first, we admire the work done by Sikorsky with Matrix.
Yeah.
And the question is that you invested that for a couple of years. I think that right now it's the right time where you can deliver effectively. So you are in advance, that's great. Now autonomy can be a buzzword. There are several layers. Let's start by remote control, which is already something that is almost available, but let's do it. And then we can increase the level of autonomy progressively. And I think this is something that will take still a couple of years, so 3 more children for you in order to get...
Be a blessing.
Good luck to get a real fully autonomy systems. And in terms of challenges, you name certification. I think that for the time being, I don't know, you still think the same, but certification for civil area is out of scope for the time being. We are more focusing on a military usage.
Yeah.
Autonomy.
I would say, first off, it's probably the single most important technology investment we're making.
Okay.
If you look at it, map data is not enough for helicopters. Tony Randall, my flight safety lead at Bell, is here with us on the safety committee. We get reports every day of helicopters inadvertently contacting things. I've told them I'm tired of getting those notes, and not because I want them to take me off of them, but because I want them to stop happening. We have the sensor technology today, so we're actually working it from the opposite end. We're looking at what are the sensory and perception systems that are necessary to identify the objects. And then just like the automotive industry has done, what level of control do you give the system versus the pilot? So we're looking at it as pilot aids, as working up to allowing the system to have more control. And so we're working a lot with near Earth autonomy. We're on the other side of the Marvell project with the Bell 505, and we're using the systems they've developed on a dozen or so different aircraft.
Awesome. Boeing, autonomy?
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
I'll say I think one of the biggest challenges is what the path to adoption for some of our biggest customers is. When I look at all of the different autonomy solutions and the different levels of maturity, the different interfaces, the different behaviors, I ask myself, how is this all going to converge into something that's consistent and usable for the warfighter? And whether it's a Group 1 UAS all the way up to an OPV aircraft, whether it's a Black Hawk, a Chinook, or what have you, what does that interface, the architecture, and the behavior look like? And how many different variations can you have within a given service? So I think we're kind of in a phase where all of the companies are working very hurriedly to develop and advance the technology, which takes a very long time. And when it takes 10 plus years to get a really mature fieldable system, you haven't really had a chance to align and converge the interfaces, the requirements, the handoffs between mission and flight autonomy, the family of systems, et cetera. So I worry about the adoption of how all of these great things that I see are actually going to be able to come together and work, how are you going to train for it? How are you, is it going to be, I can get in, to go to the car analogy, I can get in one car and hop in another car. And generally, if you're in the US, right, the wheels on the left, the gas pedals over here, and the brake, and, all these interfaces are common. And we're all kind of heading off in similar but different directions. So I think that's maybe more of a signal of the lack of clear requirements, budget, and commitment that's coming through. And the DARPA Alias program is probably one of the bright spots that has created some level of consistency and at least experimentation in a number of platforms. So that's what I think is one of the biggest obstacles for how we're going to move forward with autonomy and the capabilities and the benefits that it'll bring to our platforms and our systems.
Exciting times to come. Roberto, I'll let you jump to unless you want to talk autonomy, I can lead you with the next topic. Public good.
Public good.
Public good. How are we underutilizing helicopters for public good? Whether it's fighting fires, saving people's lives, and I know Leonardo, especially on the civil side, is doing a lot here. But what else could we do?
Well, I would say we have identified most of the missions. I mean, the helicopter, actually, to the credit of Igor Sikorsky, was a great believer of the helicopter for saving people. I mean, a great individual who has been an inspiration for this industry. I think we can do better what we are already doing pretty well. I mean, I am thinking as a European OEM, I mean, I imagine helicopters who are able to fly with ease, I mean, without any problem, a low-level IFR network to be able to operate 24 hours a day. I mean, for EMS mission, having a system which can fly for different missions around the clock would be fantastic. And we are still not completely integrated, especially in Europe. I know in America this part is pretty advanced, and this is one area. Firefighting, well, I see the usage of. Firefighting is carrying water, so you need something pretty hefty to do that because water is still heavy, but also having maybe unmanned system which allow you to manage a situation as you are in a battlefield. Again, in this case, you're against the fire. Law enforcement. I mean, the kind of systems that you can bring today in very safety conscious and security conscious cities. We can have systems which can recognize license plates, even people in the future from the air. And this is something which is a significant benefit to the society given the circumstances today. So the unique flexibility of the helicopter in position, I mean, it can be anywhere. I'm also a dreamer of finally bringing search and rescue to longer distances with tilt rotors. Being able to really operating in open seas in the future and maybe in full icing conditions where nobody dares to go with a helicopter today and extend the reach of vertical flight. I think it's a matter of making an effort, but we can get there.
So we had an event in Southern California, LA, after the Palisades fire. We had a beautiful S-61 land. That was one of the aircraft that fought those fires. And I know that is still a significant ability that we still have today to fight fires. But I know Sikorsky's doing some new things with fires and just public safety in general.
Firehawk is a great tool for fighting fires, and the text that we've received from Firehawk operators, one of my favorites was they got deliveries of brand new Firehawks just before the LA fires, and so the first time out fighting, the texts they were getting back from those pilots were just incredible. But I think it is an area where we've got to invest more, and maybe it's not necessarily in more helicopters per se, but what's the technology to be able to get early detection of fires so they don't spread? Can you detect those? Can you have maybe autonomous water-carrying aircraft on standby, ready to go? How do you knock down a fire much more quickly before it gets to the destructive nature that it has? So we've try to do demos along those ways with other partners. You know, Lockheed as a whole is interested in investing in that type of technology to help for the better good of not just the U.S., but in other countries as well.
Yeah, it did hurt a little bit talking to the pilots, unfortunately, for them to say, if we had more helicopters, we might have been able to beat that fire. And that did hurt a little bit, but I mean, this is what we're trying to do and advocate for. So, yeah.
Yeah, Angelo, I want to hit on that because, I actually think about affordability.
Yeah.
Imagine if a Firehawk or a Fire Chinook were $1 million, how many more there would be out in the market. So I think we as an industry really have to understand the impact of affordability on the ability to actually go execute these missions that no other platform, no other capability can do. And so, whether it's just material and labor escalation, it's private equity coming into a lot of the defense markets and buying up some of the tier 2, tier 3s and really driving affordability challenges. I think that's really a hindrance to the adoption for more public use. So when we solve some of that, I think we'll actually help the public use question.
Anything else, Jason or Dennis, on public good?
I was just, like you said, if you're last, it's already covered. But I look at it the opposite way. And when we look at where are we making investments of, you've already seen helicopter missions that have gone away from technology, whether it's traffic helicopters, sometimes news helicopters, things like that have been done a different way. So I think the important part for us to take note of is the missions they talked about are what I'd call the enduring missions. There's certain parts of big heavy machinery with long endurance and the ability to hover on extended periods of time for search and rescue, for EMS, for oil and gas that are going to be the focus going forward.
Yeah. Now, I'll let you start with the pipeline. We're talking about students. We're going to talk about the pipeline here. Now, I will say this. There were some conversations earlier in the day about how there's not enough students, and there is an interest in hiring. I will say this as well, though. Our #1 top scoring recipient for the foundation was a German, and he's working at DLR now. And so there's some great talent in Europe. So how do you feel at Airbus, especially in Europe, hire a lot of Europeans? How do you feel about the talent there? Is there anything missing? Do you feel like more students should be working or studying engineering, or what are you seeing?
Yes, so we are in a classical industry, and sometimes students are coming on the market and saying, well, I want to create startups and fancy things. And there are a batch of guys like that, and they have to make their own adventure before coming in more classical industries. So that's true that we see that phenomenon that makes sometimes us in difficulty to recruit those right guys. However, we remain a very solid and strong industry with amazing products, with a lot of kind of competencies. So I think that there are still quite a lot of things that we can offer to our students. We have to multiply the initiatives in order to make sure that we get the right guys, especially in the gender diversity. Because I don't know if it's the same for you, but maybe we are at 70% of male, which is still unbalanced. So it's quite a challenge there. Okay. But we have to work with the universities in order to get that aligned together.
Jason?
So I'm going to be brief because I want to hear what everybody else says, because this is personal for me. My son graduates in 25 days. Oh, wow. And then he has to go pick his major in college. So I'm going to wait and see what they recommend. But I will say, if you align the workforce needs with some of the discussion we talked about, technology needs, a lot of the competition we see, again, we have a good pipeline for the standard aerospace engineering folks. Got to convince some of them to come spend summers in Texas. Yeah. But beyond that, the advanced technology that's a portable skill between technology companies, between all versions of aerospace companies, so in the avionics, electrical, software areas are really where we see the competition and the need for growth areas.
Yeah. Well, specific to VTOL ARCOs, I will say the feedback loop, surprisingly, with the Army and the VTOL ARCOs is exceptional. Industry and the students, I'm not sure. But I would say, I got a special request from Elizabeth Ward. Please stand up if you are a VTOL ARCO graduate, just so we can get a sense of who is in this room. Stand up if you're a VTOL ARCO graduate. Oh, we can clap for them too, but I'm just kind of curious. All right, that's a good cross section of the room. Oh, now they're getting up. All right.
We should have them up here now.
Maybe. I don't know. But I don't know.
Go ahead, Gus.
Boeing, any Boeing perspectives you hired in Ridley Park? Yeah.
So, I'll just say, I think in general in industry, we've seen a really strong pull from some of the venture capital backed firms offering significant salaries and compensation packages, and that's changed the dynamic of the workforce a little bit. I think some of those will kind of ebb and flow over time, and we'll see, how much that venture capital continues to funnel into some of the vertical lift related businesses. But what I will say is for the early career folks that we brought into the company, I've just been so impressed with the capabilities. They come in, and within a year or two, they are just making impacts. I actually was getting a brief from one of our Phantom Works engineers that had been in industry for only 4 years, and I had to do a double take. It's like, how long have you been here? Because she was speaking as if she had 10 to 15 years of experience. So I'll just say, my experience is the pipeline is creating some really strong candidates, so long as we can attract them to the missions and the types of work that we have. And we just, it has to be intentional though. We can't just kind of sit back and, they will come sort of attitude. I think we have to continue to develop, partner with academics, with institutions, and create good, opportunities for these students to come in and see some excitement in the types of technology and products that they're able to create.
Yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off, Jason, but I do think we could do a better job with that feedback loop from industry. And now just so that you guys are aware, Steve Schmidt and Chris and Jason are my bosses. They're also on the executive committee, and so we'll probably talk about this from the board meeting. Because I do think getting them early, engineers they like getting paid, but at the same time, they're very passionate about what they do. And if you can show them the awesome things that you're doing early on, they'll go to work for you guys, even if it means maybe slightly less money, obviously, or burning out at Anderle and not ending up staying there for very long. So any workforce? Steve, you got anything on the workforce, what you're seeing?
I think the panelists really covered it well. I'll maybe make a comment in a slightly different direction. What keeps me more up night is knowledge continuity. I'm finding there's so many experienced engineers out there. How do you pass that knowledge down to these? I thought, Chris, you said it well. The students that come in are new engineers. They're so passionate and they do a great job. Love having them. But how do we get them up even faster to speed? And the people who have gained knowledge in this industry, how do we pass that along productively to younger members, and those lessons learned, those battle scars? It kind of goes back to how do you go fast and be successful for our customers?
Yeah. Part of that will be Bill Welsh, who's going to give the Nikolsky and his lifetime of achievement. That's going to be exceptional. Hopefully, a lot of the students listening. That's one thing that we can do. What that'd be our best to do. Roberto, I'll spin this to say, when you were a student, what do you wish you knew at that time, which you know now from a very distinguished career? What should the students think about, maybe that they're not? Tough one.
Well, it was a simpler world to some extent.
Yeah.
And sorry if I go back to the knowledge continuity is hugely important, because now programs tend to be far apart, but the man life is always that. So if you fall in the wrong cycle, so if you happen to graduate in the wrong part of the cycle, you risk of coming in an industry which has nothing new to do, and it is just turning the wheel. So there is an unfair advantage for the young people, young graduates who join. I just imagine the people who are joining Bell at this time. With this excitement on MV-75, or also our new programs that we are developing, but they tend in general to be far between them because budget consideration, and also because to some extent a certain traditional technology has reached a plateau. So why, now you've done the Chinook, you probably have the Z Chinook variant at some point in 120 years, because nobody will replace the Chinook, but it means that the knowledge and the ingenuity of the new people who come to the industry will need more to be on the systemic part probably, and the way that these airframes can be kept young forever. But this is an issue. But nevertheless, we we still find great people and great young people, but boys and girls who are keen to join and work for this incredible industry.
Yeah, excellent. Now, one last question. Chris, what keeps you up at night? What's the risk that keeps you up at night in your role? What are things you worry about?
Can I use Steve's for
Yeah.
continuity?
Yeah.
It's a solid one. Honestly, what keeps me up at night is ensuring that I'm doing everything I can to support the team so that we put the safest, most capable platforms out there every day. Our aircraft are being used for very critical and important missions every single day. And I feel the weight of ensuring that those pilots, that those crew, that the people that depend on them, trust them, and that they will be back, to base, to home, wherever, every day. So that's probably it's not an exaggeration to say that literally will be what I'm thinking about. Whatever's going on in the fleet, whatever we're doing to help improve them, how are we doing, and are we doing the best we can, and am I helping my team do the best that they can to achieve that? So that's our focus.
Awesome. It might lead you, Jason, on this one, but safety, risk is safety concerns. Tilt rotor MV-75. V-22 has a terrible rep. I don't know why. I actually did a safety study for the Navy that showed that the V-22 mishap rate is no different than any others, and we've made so many improvements, right? MV-75 is going to be safe, right?
It is, and so thankfully we've got Dr. Brand here. The knowledge continuity is a big thing for us.
Yeah.
Going back, we've had a very lucky period where we've had people who started, on 525 over 10 years or so ago. They went through the JMRTD program, then they went through FARA, and now they're bringing all that experience into the MV-75 program. It's kind of like winning the lottery from that perspective. So we've got all, anytime you do a first generation of something, there's growing pains you go through.
Yep.
So we have the lessons learned from that. Plus we have a very recently multiple cycles workforce to apply to the new design.
Yeah. Dennis, anything keep you up at night?
Yeah, of course, I won't say the opposite.
Other than a cocktail, maybe?
Yeah, exactly. No, but
No,
the point is really the balance between and the frustrations to want to go fast, because innovation is as well getting fast, and we spoke about that. So the time is important, and we take too long to develop things. So we want sometimes to push the boundaries, to push the rules, to push the processes, to align them in order to go fast. But on the other side, if you are going too fast, we may endanger safety. So what makes me awake is up till which point I have to stop pushing the system.
Yeah.
It's only one way to know where the limit is.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Any others, Steve?
You took mine. That was good. I was going to say, balance across the portfolio, meaning we've got innovations that are going fast and we're being pressed to go fast. I'm also responsible for aviation safety. So finding that balance can often be tough. And it's in this go fast environment, we find ourselves kind of pitted against some of those things. But I'm very thankful that have a team that can have those discussions. We seem to land in the right spot. So balancing through that is one of the things that I pay attention to.
All right, so maybe one more question, and we could open it up to the audience. If your last name is Reitmeyer, maybe you can ask a question if she has one. I don't know if you want to ask these gentlemen anything while you're there.
Our time's up.
I think the other question I would have for the panel is, and it really goes back to what you were saying about balancing safety and going fast. How do you think that we do that? What's your philosophical take on how that happens?
Well, one, I think it's using the knowledge of your team and the experience to understand the aircraft design, backing up what you decide with the right modeling and simulation, and then listening to all your team members. So we have people on the team and like tech fellows, we have people who are experienced in doing things more quickly. What I try to do is listen to all those team members, and I find that if I allow them to talk, we end up finding the right path. I think one of the things that quite honestly helps is being able to fly aircraft autonomously. So a lot of those first flights, we're able to balance going fast with actually the expense of the aircraft versus a life. So I think that's also something that we're looking to do in order to find our way through that.
Yes, somewhere listening for the weak signals are important, because when there is a doubt, there is no doubt. And I think it's important to, and our role as manager is to make sure that we are listening to these weak signals. And it's not always easy because we may face to pick too much detail points, but it's, we are in an industry that's so complex that plenty of details can turn into something bad.
Yeah, I'll add to that more from a programmatic and order of events thing. The thing we really have to do is get comfortable with doing things in parallel. If we wait till all the analysis is done until we release parts, I mean, we will have aircraft built before we get through our final analysis. It's just, and it's a, when we do internal prototypes, we have the ability to make those judgment calls, but coordinating that with our, whoever's sponsoring and signing off on the airworthiness on the program has to be along with us on that.
So I'd like to answer the question by saying structure, process, and culture. And within Boeing, from a structure and process standpoint, we've really created an independent path for technical integrity. So engineers report to engineers all the way up to Howard McKenzie, the chief engineer for Boeing. And so we may be deployed, dotted line over into our various IPTs and program teams, but we always have a technical integrity path of escalation to provide independent oversight and kind of a counterbalance to some of the, maybe a schedule and budget pressure when this, safety is non-negotiable. Schedule and budget, whether a program manager likes it or not, would be negotiable when there's that trade-off. And then on the culture side, you have to have an organization that's open and willing to leverage that and not kind of be scared to escalate the things or get the support from those independent things. And so whether it's an ombudsman type of program, again, but within Boeing, we have a speak up system where anybody can either attach their name or anonymously share a concern that we will, take seriously, investigate. And then at the highest level, we actually have a Boeing Safety Center that documents, aerospace incidents over the decades, both commercial and military, and we use that as a learning point for our team to not ignore the past and kind of shy away from it, but to own it, learn from it, and be able to incorporate those lessons learned, those hard-fought lessons learned going forward. And so when you have that culture coupled with the structure and the process, I think that's how you create the balance.
Thanks.
I think all the wise things have been said, as I would share that it's about experience, process, risk management. I mean, if I just think at looking at the evolution of aviation after the war, the Second World War, I mean, the number of prototypes that here in America were built, and how many people, how many crews have lost on something which was a disaster from a safety point of view, and clearly. This culture of safety has improved, and safety, thank goodness, can only go one way. It can only improve because we thankfully, in the West, we still cherish human life, and it's important for everybody. But I think it's what I've heard from my colleagues around this panel.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate you all coming here and supporting the panel. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you to the talk from the top panelists.